We are back. UFC Fight Night. Royval taking on Taira last week. Our boy Poatan got down to business. Man, what a great fight that was. Not the greatest card, obviously. There was a few good fights, like that Buckley Wonderboy fight. That was sick. The co-main event was horrible. Bad judging all the way through. And of course, Poatan put out a great performance. I mean, just efficiency. I mean, Khalil seemed to really gas out. He was throwing kill shots and all of his punches. He's head hunting. He's looking for kill shots. And Poatan, to me, just seemed a little more efficient with his energy and fighting at altitude. He came a month earlier, so he was ready, prepared. What you won't hear many people talk about, I don't think they were paying attention enough to. I haven't heard anyone really talk about it other than Poatan. But if you notice, in between the rounds, Poatan was actually coughing. And I was like, why is he coughing? It was like really weird. I was like, that's so strange. And then after the fight, you found out he was sick on the day of the fight. It's crazy, man. The fact that the guy was sick, coughing, had a cold or whatever it was, and, still performed the way he did at altitude. The guy is the real deal. I'm thinking, man, he might give Magomed Ankalaev a hard time. A lot of people saying, hey, he's got to fight Ankalaev. Well, let's first wait. What if Ankalaev doesn't even beat Rakic? You know what I mean? Like, there's a chance he doesn't even beat Rakic. I mean, he is a big favorite, but Ankalaev had some trouble with Jan Blachowicz. I mean, I think Rakic is that might be a hard fight. It's going to be interesting because Rakic and Jan had a good fight too. I think there was an injury in that one, though, if I recall. But, man, Poatan is the real deal. So, yeah, you haven't heard anyone really coming out and giving Poatan the love for taking that fight while sick. You got guys like DC. He's more worried about, what flavored Cheetos he's going to eat next. Man, I can't stand that guy. I don't know why he's a commentator for the UFC. It just blows my mind. He doesn't do any homework at all. He just shows up eating Cheetos, and clearly it shows from his lack of intelligence when the fights are taking place, right? I mean, I think DC's a great fighter, right? Two-time champ, But him as a commentator, I can't stand him as a commentator. I'd much rather see a Paul Felder in there. Bring back Kenny Florian, our boy Ken Flo. That guy was insane. Joe Rogan, John Anik, they're doing their thing. They're great, but I cannot stand DC. I don't believe he should be in that position. He's just in that position because, of what he did in his fighting career. But, commentating is much different from fighting. But this weekend, we got our boy Tatsuro Taira. I've been on him before the UFC. I've been telling everybody, Tatsuro Taira, this guy's nuts. People were like, bro, you're just high on this kid for nothing. I was like, no. This guy's the real deal. Him, Muhammad Makayev, I was super high on. Obviously, unfortunately, with him, they cut him. But that boy was undefeated. Never lost one fight for us. He won every single bet I put on that guy. Every single bet he performed and won for me. So I got nothing but love for Muhammad Makayev because he's did me right ever since he came to the UFC. And Tatsuro Taira, I told you I'm betting him until he gives me a loss. I mean, every single UFC fight of his I took. Every single one I'm betting on Tatsuro Taira. And the guy performs every single fight. Why would I bet against him? I don't care who he's fighting, whether it's Pantoja or Raw Dog. Even though our boy Raw Dog here is coming off the biggest win of his career over Brandon Moreno, the former champ, I don't care. Because Tatsuro Taira, this Japanese kid, only 24 years old, he's the real deal. You see his fight with Alex Perez, the way he took his back standing, did some crazy, extended the body triangle on the leg, had crazy diagonal control where he actually made Perez fall, and he hurt his knee from the takedown, but he was going to get choked out. You got this Tatsuro Taira on your back. It's game over after that, but I like Raw Dog, man. Raw Dog he's legit. This is going to be Taira's biggest test, and if he beats Brandon Royval, you're giving this kid the title shot. I don't care. If he doesn't get the title shot after beating Raw Dog, because Raw Dog just beat the former champ, Brandon Moreno. And the fight before that, he fought Pantoja. Lost a unanimous decision, but whatever. That's against the champ. And he beat the former champ. If Taira goes in there and smokes him, which I think he might smoke him 5 rounds. He might get the finish here. So I'm taking Tatsuro Taira, and you better give this boy a title shot. In Japan, you got a new superstar on your hands because they don't have many good fighters. I'm not gonna lie. Taira is Japan's number 1 fighter right now, in my opinion, hands down. He's gonna get that title shot after this win. 17-0, 16-0 right now. That guy's only 24. He's the real deal, brother. He's as real as it gets. Up next, Brad Tavares still doing the damn thing. Taking on Jun Young Park, the Korean. So Brad Tavares coming off a nice little loss to Gregory Robocop Rodriguez, who is a savage, by the way. Robocop's the real deal. Both guys got knocked out by Robocop. Junon Park just lost a split decision to Andre Muniz, who's got wicked jiu-jitsu. More of a jiu-jitsu guy. Now he's taking on Brad Tavares. Brad Tavares, to me, he's not the same guy. He's got 1 win in his last 3-4 fights, and that only win is to a 50-year-old Chris Weidman, who's got his leg broken and hasn't fought in years. So I'm not impressed with Brad Tavares at all. I'll go with Junong Park on this one, but Junon Park not that great either, but I think he should be able to get this one done. This one's interesting. Grant Dawson, a huge favorite, almost minus 500 against Rafa Garcia. Rafa Garcia is pretty savage. Grant Dawson, he did have a nice performance his last fight, but the one before that, man, he got destroyed by Bobby Green. Bobby Green put that boy to sleep. And, Rafa Garcia has been looking good. He beat Mahi Shate, who is that Asian kid, young kid, on the Contender Series. Then he had that wicked first round knockout over Steve Garcia. Then Rafa beat Clay Guida, who's age 60 now, the Carpenter. Probably shouldn't be fighting anymore. And now he's taking on Grant Dawson. I'm going to go with the over on this one. I think this fight's definitely going over. If I were to pick a winner, I'm sort of leaning towards Grant Dawson, but in no way should this fight be minus 500 for Grant Dawson. He's good, but he's not that good. He you know what I mean? Bobby Green put that boy to sleep. Let's see here. Our boy D-Rod taking on Alex Morono. D-Rod has not been looking good, man. 3 straight losses for D-Rod. Fortunately for him, he is fighting decent level competition, right? Lost to Ian Machado Gary, lost to Neil Magny, that's tough, and lost to Kelvin Gastelum. Yeah, that's tough. He hasn't been looking good, I'm not going to lie. Alex Morono, on the other hand, coming off a loss to Nico Price, not impressive at all. Both these guys not been impressive lately, so I'm going to go with D-Rod. I think he's been fighting the better level of competition out of the two, right? But yeah, this fight is that should be your pre-prelims. Up next, we got Judo Thunder, Abdul Razak Al Hassan. This boy hits hard. He got some good judo. His gas tank needs a bit of work because he's got a lot of muscle, but it's only a 3-rounder. So, I think he should be able to come in here and get this one done against Josh Fremd. Abdul's had some unluckiness. He had a no contest his last fight. It was accidental blows to the head. And the fight before that, Joe Pfeiffer just picked him up, slammed him, and arm triangled him. But Joe Pfeiffer's a big, strong middleweight, and he's legit. Josh Fremd, on the other hand, 11 wins, 6 losses. That's not even a 500 fighter. Coming off a loss to Andre Petrowski, not impressive at all. I'm going to go with Abdul Razak Al Hassan in this one, I think. Even at 39 years of age, close to 40 now, Doesn't look like it, but he's getting up there with age. But I'm still going to take him over Josh Fremd, even though Josh Fremd's got like a 6-inch height advantage. But when he gets hit by Judo Thunder, the height not going to make a difference then. Up next, we got the brother of Anthony Njokuani, Chidi Njokuani, taking on Jared Gooden. Both guys here like to strike. Jared Gooden, he's got a bit of a grappling background, but doesn't really like to use it too much. Chidi Njokuani does not like to use it at all. He likes to go out there and stand, either knock out or get knocked out. Jared Gooden, both guys coming off a win, so he's coming off a win over Wellington Turman. It was a rear naked choke, and Chidi Njokuani's coming off a nice little victory over Reese McKee, the Skeletor who got destroyed by Hamzat that one time in Abu Dhabi there. I'm sort of leaning towards Chidi on this one. If it stays standing, I think he should be able to get it done. He's got enough takedown defense to keep this on the feet, I believe, and I think he should be able to get this one done. Up next, CJ Vergara taking on Ramazan Tamirov. So Ramazan Tamirov, I've seen him in Risen. He's coming over from Risen, been killing it out in Risen, and now the UFC has signed him. He's on a nice little win streak. Clearly you're going to want to build up this Ramazan Tamirov guy. And what better way than to fight CJ Vergara, who is, 2-2 in his last 4. Now, those losses are to really good guys. Tatsuro Taira armbarred him, and Asu Almabayev, won a decision, who's like 20 wins, 2 losses. The Kazakhstan dude, he's really good too. So CJ Vergara, he's losing to top guys, really good guys, and this one is actually, I'm leaning towards Ramazan because I think he should be able to get it done, but it's gonna be tough because CJ is very he's game, he's super game, and he's fought some really good guys, so he's not gonna be in shock by anything Ramazan throws at him, and he's got some more experience at a higher level. Risen is great, but it's not the UFC at all. There's levels to that. Up next, Pat Sabatini. I'd like to see him a little higher up on the card. I really like Pat Sabatini. I like his skill set. The Philly boys, these guys, they're savages, and Pat Sabatini is a savage. Only 5'8", fighting the 6-foot Jonathan Pierce. He's an underdog. And, he's coming off a nasty, nasty loss to Diego Lopez, but Diego Lopez is the real deal. Everyone knows that. Diego Lopez is for real. And Jonathan Pierce, he's coming off a nice little 2 losing streak. So he's lost 2 in a row over David Onama, Joe Anderson Brito. Ninja choked him. His last win was over Darren the Damage Elkins. Not impressive at all. That is why I'm going with the underdog on this one. Plus 115 underdog. I like to bet. I'll go with Pat Sabatini. Pierce is coming off 2 straight losses, and I think Pat Sabatini, might be able to get it done. He's a good grappler, too. A good grappler, so I'll go with Pat Sabatini on that one. Up next, Nico Price, still doing it, taking on Temba Garimbo. Nico Price, man. I remember his fight with Robbie Lawler. He just got destroyed, man. Robbie Lawler put him away, and then his last fight, he beat Alex Morono. All right. But, I think Temba Garimbo should be able to get this one done. He's just less miles, I think. Nico's been knocked out a few times, and he's a little chinny, man. Like, Robbie Lawler didn't just hit him with a couple uppercuts from the clinch, and he just flatlined him. And Temba's coming off, three wins in a row. A little 3-fight win streak there. So I'll go with Temba Garimbo on that one. Up next, Chris Barnett. He's back. The big fat black dude who does backflips, and the last guy you would expect for someone to do backflips. He's legit, man. Unfortunately for him, he likes to stand and strike. He doesn't really shoot for takedowns. He's more of a striker, and that's going to fall right into the hands of Junior Tafa. The Tafa Bros, extremely one-dimensional, horrible ground games, right? His last fight, he fought, Junior fought, what's his face, his brother, Johnny Walker's brother, Walter Walker, and, got, I think it was a heel hook, I believe, I believe it was a heel hook. And yeah, he just has a horrible ground game. But, fortunately for him, Chris Barnett's going to stand and strike with him. And I think that's going to play right into Junior Tafa's hands. And for a guy, 5 wins, 3 losses, that's about as horrible of his record as it gets. I mean, for the UFC, that's not impressive at all. I know, obviously, his skill set doesn't show how good, by looking at his record, you're like, this guy's not that great. But he's a legit striker. And he only has usually issues with some guys who are, trying to take him down. But I think Chris Barnett's going to strike with him, and that's going to play right into the Tafa. Should he be minus 400? Probably not. I think I don't think he should be minus 400. Not when you're coming off 2 straight losses there. No, I don't think so. Dan Argueta taking on Cody Hadon. Dan Argueta, this guy's had a rough go, man. I mean, he had his first fight in the UFC, he lost to Damon Jackson. Then he wins unanimous decision against Nick Aguirre, and then he comes off 2 no contests. So 2 no contests, and then his last fight, he gets choked out by that undefeated Japanese Brazilian Matsumoto. That guy's legit, though, and now he's taking on Cody Hadon. Cody Hadon, the Australian. He's fought once, I believe, on the Contender Series. Looks super impressive, and I was pretty impressed by his performance on the Contender Series. His first round victory, got himself a nice little contract, and now he's in the UFC. First fight, I'm going to go with Cody Hadon on that one. But Dan Argueta has a little more experience when it comes to, the UFC, because this is only Cody's first fight in the UFC, right? He's only fought in the Contender Series. It's a big difference. But fortunately for him, it's in the same place, the Apex, with no crowd, so that should help him out there a bit. Up next, this guy must be one of the shortest guys on the roster, 5'3", Lucas Hocha, taking on Clayton Carpenter. But what a record, though, 17-1, and he's a plus 165 underdog against Clayton the Carpenter. Lucas Hocha has been really good, man. He had 1 loss in 2019. And other than that, that 1 loss, in 2019, he's been phenomenal, man. But, he's fought once on the Contender Series, had a nice little finish in the second round. But, hasn't really had that big fight experience. But now he's going to have that here in the UFC. Taking on the Carpenter. Clayton Carpenter, I seen him on the Contender Series. He beat Edgar Chairez. And his last fight, it was his first fight in the UFC. Got a nice little RNC there. They have him as a favorite, but I'm sort of leaning towards the guy who's got 18 pro fights. But he is, I don't know about this one. This one's gonna be tight. I don't know about this one, to be honest. This one is going to be super tough to call. Just because you really haven't seen too much of this Hocha guy. I mean, he looked, he had 1 fight on the Contender Series, but it's hard to tell with just 1 fight in the Contender Series. At least with Clayton, he's had 2 UFC fights against pretty decent guys, right? Edgar Chairez. So I'm going to lean towards the underdog on this one. But it's tough. This one's tough to call. But I really like this main event, man. I really do. This main event is going to be sick. I think Tatsuro Taira is going to shock a lot of people, and Japan might have a future champ in the making. The UFCs are really going to want to push this kid, because Pantoja, I mean, he's a little boring, not going to lie. He's champion, not going to lie. And if you guys need a place to BetUS, promo code Iceman. Let's stack that money, because in 2 weeks we got another pay-per-view, and that pay-per-view is absolute fire. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be boring at all. This next pay-per-view is insane. Yeah, let's do it. Out.
BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook and casino. Live betting and racebook. We're celebrating 30 years with a historic offer. A 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Plus 10% gambler's insurance. Get started today. BetUS, where the game begins.